Good morning, everyone. I'm here with Heather McKay. I'm super excited to interview her today, and I think you're going to love this because she's doing some amazing things, and she's going to show us like how we can do it too. So I'm super excited. She's a professional photographer, a business coach for creatives, and an avid travel hacker. And I know so many of us talk about wanting to travel. So I think this is going to be a great thing to learn about and implement into our own businesses. So Heather, I'm super excited to have you here today. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So I know I introduced you, but just in a few sentences and in your own words, will you just tell the audience a little bit who you are and what you do?
Yeah, no problem. I've been a wedding photographer for 18 years, which is insane. I thought I would burn out I thought I would get bored of it after 3 years. So I do small DIY or really outdoorsy weddings mostly. And I've been transitioning into, because I've been doing this so long, I've transitioned into mentoring other photographers. So a lot of new photographers are terrified of selling wedding albums or tangible products. It's just easier to give away the digital files. So I help them bridge that gap. I help them switch from giving out digitals to giving out tangible products. And that's really where my passion lies. There's nothing better than seeing a final wedding album. It's like Christmas morning. And so with that, my own journey is I got really, really burned out shooting a lot of weddings. So I needed a vacation. I took some time off, and that's how I got into travel hacking. So I'm kind of merging all three of those things at the moment.
Very cool. So tell me a little bit more about this burnout that had you have this happy accident, right? We have happy accidents that happen sometimes. And I know
100%.
as an entrepreneur myself, burnout is very real and there's not a lot of people talking about it. So I would love to hear more of your story around that, like how this happy accident happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm only really recently looking at it as a happy accident. When it happened, I'd like most people, I had a job I didn't love before, and I worked in an old photo lab, and I saw the writing on the wall of digital was killing the photo lab business. So part of it was I started my photography business to replace that job. But also I just kept getting pay cuts and reshuffled around the organization and stuff. So I built my business while I was working 50 hours a week at a corporate job. And it was horrible, obviously, as you can imagine. And I held on to that job a lot longer than I should have probably. But I finally quit, and I was self-employed for over 10 years. And it's just a grind. And a lot of people think, oh, quitting my job, I'm going to have so much more freedom. I can hang out with my kids more. But the reality is because we're also our worst critics in our head, we're also our worst boss. So the problem is there's never ending amount of work to do, and you care more. So you're going to work more. You really just, it's a lot of it's passion, a lot of it's hustle, a lot of it's just wanting to do it more. A lot of it is well, if I work more, I can make more money. We have all these internal loops in our head, and a lot of us work from home. So it's really hard to turn that off. That's the problem I have. It's really hard for me because I don't have kids or husbands or any distractions. I just work all the time. So I got really, really burned out after about 10 years being self-employed. Wedding season is a grind all in and of itself. And I tried to build in self-care, in the winter. I would snowboard every morning, and that was my deal breaker. So, and I always said, once I quit my job, I always said yes to anything any friend asked of hey, let's go do this. Okay, great. Mm-hmm. So that helped, but I still got really burned out. I just got burned out of the marketing hustle. Even though I'm an outgoing person, I don't love marketing. I don't love being hey, look at me. Hey, look what I just did. It just doesn't, I want other people to talk about me. So right. I got really burned out of that, of the constant everyday, how am I going to get the next paycheck grind? And so I just I timed that with turning 40 and realizing, oh, wait, I just blinked and turned to 40. I thought I was still 20. So I was shoot, I've been talking about going to Africa my whole life. And if I don't just do it, I'll never have enough money or time off of my business. So I thought, geez, if I don't just pick a date, I'm going to blink and be 60. So that's how I got into travel hacking, because being self-employed, I couldn't imagine taking 3 months off to go travel. I don't get vacation time. I don't even get sick time. So that was really the catalyst there. I knew I needed the trip itself to be as close to free as possible so that I could have any savings I had help me through like a lighter year when I got back with marketing, because marketing takes a while. So that's what got me into travel hacking. And I spent 2 years learning how to do credit card rewards points and how to get enough points and how to plan the trip, and obviously vaccines and things for Africa and planning that. And the irony is, and this is what you were alluding to, the irony is now that ended up being a springboard for me to get past weddings. And now I have a course on how to do that, how to plan your bucket list trip and how to get the points for it quickly.
All right. So when you talk about travel hacking, you're talking about being able to travel for cheap.
Whenever you want. Yeah. Basically, it opens up a whole new world when you have free hotel rooms, free flights. Yeah. I mean, you can really travel whenever and wherever you want. So for example, with that first Africa trip, I mean, that was always the goal, was just that trip, right? So, and I had people to stay with in Africa. I have some family there, but I still, I came back from that trip just with like so many extra rewards points that I took 5 more trips that year.
Nice.
That's how crazy it was. Plus I realized, I'm burned out. That's when I really realized just how burned out I was. Because once I was on that vacation, I just didn't want it to end. I mean, obviously we all would love to just travel indefinitely, right? But I just figured out how to work remotely, work less in my own office. I had automated a lot so that I could take that trip, like a lot of marketing tasks, my email newsletter, that kind of stuff. So part of it was the benefit of automation in my business so that I could be traveling and it still looked like I was working.
Right. And I think that you've touched on quite a few points here, because yes, as small business owners, solopreneurs, we can be workaholics very quickly. I've been accused of that by several people. And I do work from home. So it's easy to make dinner and then plop down in front of the computer again and work just a few more hours. And I've also heard things about even planning a vacation is good for your soul.
And productivity. It's actually good to take time off.
It is good to take time off. And I think too that being able to set up, like you mentioned, automations and systems so that we can take that time, because so many times I hear business owners say, well, I pretty much bought a job. You chain yourself to the desk, you can't really get away. And that's not really the dream that we have when we go into business. We think it's going to give us freedom. That's our main driver. And then here we find that we can't go a day without checking email, or we'll lose a lead, or we'll, upset a client, or all kinds of stories that we tell ourselves. And yet the life that you're offering and that you're saying that you discovered is more of that freedom to travel, to take time off, to set systems in place. I mean, that's really what I think a lot of us dream of when we think of being a small business owner. And before our interview, I had you send me a few links, and I got to see your website, and how fun and cool it is to see your great pictures from around the world. Just so much interest there and just excitement. So congratulations on building that. So tell us more. You say now that you're, in addition to being a photographer, you're business coaching creatives. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's been really the key for me being able to travel more. So part of the burnout with being a photographer was having to be here on a certain day. And especially with weddings, all the couples wanted to meet with me nights and weekends. Like that's when they're free. So therefore that's when they wanted to meet me and talk about this and that. So a lot of it gets back to that automation of like what I started doing was like I have a YouTube channel. And finally, I started recording my client meetings, like things I would have in-person client meetings. I would just record those as YouTube videos and send those on. So now with coaching photographers, I just use Zoom and I can just do that from anywhere. So I booked a coaching client while I was in Utah the last couple of weeks working from a friend's house. And I just scheduled their coaching sessions around snowboarding. Like, which I like to schedule days in the office when I am traveling, so that I don't, so that my friends and family don't think that I'm on vacation too. They forget that I'm actually working. But yeah, coaching other photographers, the main one thing that I'm finding is newer photographers, like I said, not just that they don't know how to say no to giving out digitals or like the overwhelming task of selling a giant canvas, but they also just don't know how to price their work. So mostly what I work on is sales tips, pricing, and specifically focusing on intangible products versus giving out digital files. Because giving out digital files is not a profitable business plan for photographers, and they all kind of start there. So my coaching is really, it's a lot of just mentoring and enabling them, allowing them to, giving them permission to not do kind of what you actually touched on, being self-employed. There's actually a lot of tasks we're just not good at. Like, we should just delegate. But when it's when you work for a company, your boss will tell you that, or they'll just naturally stop giving you those tasks that you're not good at. But when we're self-employed, we think we're really the best person to answer our email and close a sale. But a lot of times we are the problem, especially with sales. So, like, we have a lot of mindset stuff that you wouldn't have if you're working for a company trying to sell. So I help people with that specifically. I've helped other online businesses too, but I focus on photographers because that's what I know. That's my industry. But it's all the same. It's all like knowing your worth, of doing the math, and then learning how to position it, learning how to sell it, learning how to have one offer or two offers that are totally different from each other. A lot of times people are like, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. But well, what's your one main offer? What do you really do? And I find with us personally, we're too close to it. It's hard for us to know. Even for me, it's really hard to know, well, what is it that I'm amazing at? What is it that people would really pay me money for? And that's what I help people do, is narrow down their price list so that they only have one or two offers, like very clear offers, like a high-end offer and an intro offer. And that's it. And then the high-end offer, I really help them and motivate them and push them into actually selling their high-end offer, because you'll make more money that way. So for example, I mean, if you equate it to weddings, I could do 50 weddings a year at $1,000, but I'm tapping out at 50 grand a year. That's not and then I'd be super burned out. The better plan is doing 15 weddings a year, which is a lot less, and doing them all at 5 grand. So I help online businesses do the same thing. Okay, what's your core offer? And then how can we set up an intro offer? And then it just, like I said, it gets back to automating as much of that as I can, especially with them. So, payment reminders and meeting reminders and all that stuff's automated so that I can be snowboarding and my client knows exactly where we're meeting the next day on Zoom. So,
Right. And I think that that's so important today. Like, technology has come to a place where automation can be so easy and and affordable, because that's the other thing. I think part of the fear of delegating as a small business owner is like, how am I going to pay for that? Well, I have several apps and programs that are under $20 a month. And even adding them all together, I'm under $200 a month to put in automation tools that do make it easier to manage things more remotely. Because I think a lot of people now are in a position where they can do more remote things. I mean, if we're working from home, we're doing remote. Like you even mentioned, using Zoom to do calls rather than in persons, that saved me a ton of time. I used to do coffee meetings all over town, and I would try to stack them. And I consider myself very efficient, so I would stack them and try to keep in the same areas and everything. And I still was just burnt out doing all that running. So it's nice to have technology be able to bridge the gap now and really help us get to where we want to be in our business so that we do have that freedom.
exactly.
So talk to me a little bit more about travel hacking. How did you discover how you can travel for free? Like, what does that entail, and what are you doing to help people find their special formula for that?
Yeah, it's so fun. It's kind of a really, I mean, I heard about, I don't know if it was necessarily the term, but there's a book that I bought years ago, back when, we all shopped in bookstores. I was perusing early in my business, I was just kind of like putzing around and looking at business books. And I saw this book and I saw the title and it was so different from all the other business books, in the bookstore. And it was The Art of Nonconformity. And I was like, that is a great title. And that sounds like everything I've ever done in my life, and it was a small little book. So I bought it and immediately, and I'm not even really a big reader, but I crushed that book. It was so quick. And everything he said in the book, I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this guy. He's probably the first person I ever like actively chose to follow as like a person. And especially when Instagram and blog, like this is before Instagram and stuff, but so I followed his blog and everything. So he introduced me to the term. So the whole point of his book was basically like college is overrated and not for everyone. It's Chris Guillebeau. A lot of people watching your channel might have heard of him, but he's his whole thing in the beginning was like, I could spend $30,000 on college, or I could spend $30,000 visiting 100 countries in the world. So he chose to quit college and do that. And in the process, he learned about travel hacking and the art and science of points and miles. So following his blog, I was following that journey. He was trying to do the 100 countries. And then once he hit 100 countries, that was amazing. But then he was like, well, there's only 193. I might as well hit all of them. So he started his career with that story. And now he is like also the master at pivoting. So if anybody's watching this and you're just a business owner who's multi-passionate, check out Chris Guillebeau, because I find he is so amazing at pivoting into a whole new niche. I don't see anyone else doing it as gracefully as he does. But anyway, so I kind of found out about it through him, and I was following that journey. And so I knew that people do it and I knew it was possible, but I still didn't understand like how it all works. Like, and I think most people feel that way. They know their credit card gives cash back or something, but they don't know if that's the best way or that's the best card or what's it actually going to do for you to have 50,000 miles. Like, does that even get you anything? I think those are normal things people come up with. So I had to go down that rabbit hole of like, all right, where am I going? I'm going to Africa. That's difficult. It's an expensive flight. How do I do it? Who flies there? So to answer your question, now what I do is I actually help people get started. So it's a little harder. The reason I'm not building my business around it is a little harder to find you if you don't even know what you're looking for, or you don't even know you can do it. So marketing to you is very difficult. Marketing to photographers, I know where they hang out. I know where their pain points are. I know all the marketing messages. Like, it's just different. So I'm kind of doing a mix. So what I've decided to do with travel hacking is more courses. So if people find me on something like this, I have my opt-ins. I have some cheap courses to get started. For example, one of the things I've struggled figuring out myself. So anything I struggle with, I'm like, okay, that needs to be a course. If I can't find the information, I'm going to do a course on it. Excuse me. So one that I just did recently is I fly United Airlines a lot because my family's in Texas. And I find most people are kind of loyal to an airline, whether they should be or not. And so I was looking at, okay, well, what are the other ways now that I know about travel hacking? What are the more advanced ways to get like a lot of airline miles quickly with United specifically? So I just came up with a course with like 15 things that people don't know that they can do. And you can like really like ramp up your spending very, very fast, past the normal, just everyday spending. So things like that, I'm doing like little small courses for people. The main course that I have started because as a wedding photographer, I was helping my couples. Once I started traveling more, then I'm like, hey, did you know you can put me on a credit card? I'm your photographer. I'm like, that's a sign up bonus. Like and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh my gosh, put me on a credit card. So a couple of my couples have taken like bonkers honeymoons because I got them into travel hacking and helped them they figured it out because I didn't have the course yet, but that's what my course walks you through. It's like, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to take a honeymoon, or do you want to take your family of four to Aruba for spring break? Like, what's your goal? That's the first module. And then it walks you through, okay, great. Here's how you figure out how many miles you need, with what airline, with what credit card. And then I go through like step by step by step, which it's a lot of information. So that's my signature course. The other ones are just like little ones in case you're interested. But it's been fun to like see how it all plays together. I really struggled for a little while. Again, since you have a lot of business owners watching, I'll admit I struggled with imposter syndrome because I'm like, no, guys, I'm a photographer. Stop asking me about travel hacking. Like, I'm just doing it because I don't want to pay for flights. Like I had a lot of imposter syndrome that I had to like really work through. But now I'm realizing, no, it's fine. I can just get people started with like 1 or 2 credit cards that give you all the points and miles and a couple tips. Like the main tip is stop using your debit card, because I could go on about that for 8 hours. Like, so yeah, it kind of all weaves together a little bit now that I've reframed that first Africa trip, and now I've been back to Africa again. Yeah, it's been a really crazy couple of years. I just didn't expect this when I first planned that trip, but that's how I got started. I knew that this guy, I had been reading his blog. I knew he'd gone to all these countries and figured out travel hacking, so I knew I could.
Right.
So the key was just to get the points for the flight, but then now it's like, now I just feel like I can get a flight tomorrow if I need to.
Right. That's awesome. Well, I know in the show notes, we're going to have all your links so that people can check out those courses, check out what you're doing, seeing where you're traveling. And that brings me actually to our final question. I want to know where you're going next.
Ooh, so actually, as you know, I just got back from working from Utah for a month. Last night, I just got back, and Tuesday, I'm flying out again, because why not, to Austin. So I'm going to Austin, Texas, and so I have family in Austin, siblings, and Houston, and this is one of the perks. Like I have all these nieces and nephews, and I don't get to see them, and they don't really know me. They actually get me mixed up with another one of my siblings because our voices are similar. So I'm like, no. As soon as they start calling me Stacy, I'm like, I gotta book a flight and go spend some time with these nieces and nephews. So Tuesday I go down to Austin, and we're gonna go camping in Big Bend for the weekend, which I've never been. That's a bucket list thing for me. It's Big Bend National Park, and it's like southern part of Texas. It's so far away, I've never been.
Very nice.
Yeah, so that'll be really fun. I'm excited about that. So again, flight cost me $5.60, and I get to get out of a snowy tundra for the winter and just work for my sister's places.
Very nice. So cool. Well, thank you, Heather, so much for joining me today. I know you have your own YouTube channel as well. The link will be in the notes so that anyone can check you out and subscribe to your channel as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. I just have so much to think about that you've shared, and I can't wait to check out your courses. I definitely want to learn more about that. I would love to do more travel. I think a lot of people have that on their list of things they want to do more of. So,
and especially as a business owner, definitely reach out to me about that, because there's one credit card that gets you like one flight in and around anywhere in the world already with just a sign up bonus. So I definitely will I'll share that with you for sure, because all your business expenses should just go on that card, because you can get free flights or cash back. I mean, worst case scenario, shop on Amazon with it, you know?
Yeah. Awesome.
But yeah, I'm so excited. I hope that this really like inspired some people.
I know it inspired me, so I know that it's going to inspire others. So thank you again so much.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.